Eastern Illinois head coach Chris Wilkerson. The Panthers coming off a road loss against Tennessee State. They're going to be home. It's family weekend in Charleston. They're going to host Tennessee Tech on Saturday afternoon. So, Coach, thoughts on your team? Then we'll go to some questions.
Yeah, Kyle, thanks for having us. Certainly last week was not the result that we're looking for. After going back and looking at the tape for a second and third time, the first quarter started super slow offensively. It was 3 and out, and obviously the batted ball in the very first offensive play that resulted in an interception. But our defense hung in there and forced them to a field goal. And after the first quarter, it was just 3-0, as poor as we had played offensively. But the second quarter really was the turning point of the game. We continued to be 3 and out offensively, had another turnover on a short field. The defense was out there for 45 snaps in the first half. It was really, really non-complimentary football. A couple explosive plays and boom, 27-0 at the half. So I will say, the positive in this was that I was very pleased with the way that our players responded, not reacted, but responded at the half. We came out in the second half. We showed some pride and we got a stop right away on defense and we went in and scored offensively. We got another stop, went in and scored 27-17. And, we had another stop and had a chance, but turned it over on downs and had another turnover to end the game. So certainly not the result that we're looking for. A ton of growth, I guess, in this process, in this journey for this football team. But as we said, hey, this team would be defined by our place at the end of the season in the OVC. And here we are 1-1 and have a chance to play at home against another OVC opponent this weekend at Family Weekend. So really excited about the opportunity to get back on the field and show that we're better than we played on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to questions. Dan, go ahead with whatever you got.
Yeah, it looks like, two pretty evenly matched teams going in this weekend. I was looking at the kicking situation. Both kickers are having really good years. I think between them, they've got one miss. And of course, you've talked before about Stone's successful season. So I guess, special teams have been something you've really put a lot of time and energy into this year. So it might come down to a kick.
There's no question. And Coach Derrickson, Kyle Derrickson, our special teams coordinator, has done a phenomenal job with our special teams units. Again, it's an area that we have shown a ton of improvement in every measurable statistical category, and it has given us a chance to be successful and competitive. And that's what this is about, is going from being non-competitive to competitive and going from being competitive to good and going from good to being great and eventually elite. But, we've certainly taken that first step in our special teams. Again, Stone has had a phenomenal season so far. I look forward to continuing to watch him to just sharpen the axe and do what he does. And Trey Wilhoit has done a phenomenal job with the punting, but just as offensive and defensive plays, it takes 11 guys on any given play. And we've got that one play all out mentality as a special teams unit. And those guys have completely bought in, and anybody who's been asked to be out there has given us great effort. And we're going to continue to need it, and certainly going to need it this Saturday, because Tennessee Tech is a much, much improved football team. Coach Alexander and his staff have done a phenomenal job. I know they don't have the wins to necessarily show for it right now, but they are a lot better football team than they were last year, looking at the videotape, and they're going to present a tremendous amount of challenges for us. So absolutely, special teams are important. We talk about it being a third of the game, and we know we've got to try to win that third every single week.
We're at the point of the year where, you've got injuries, but also now your freshmen have gotten experience, to this point where they're probably not freshmen anymore. I know you've kind of started sprinkling guys in. Is that something you're going to continue to do, especially that they can play up to 4 games?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things there. Number one, yeah, it is that time of the year where you've got bumps and bruises or guys that you continue to lose, a guy here and a guy there at certain positions. Obviously, our offensive line has sustained a number of injuries. Our secondary has sustained a number of injuries during the course of the season. That has allowed opportunity for other players to compete. But as you do manage player development and roster development, certainly we have gotten to that point in time where if anyone has not played yet, they still have the last 4 games to play as many snaps as possible and still not burn a red shirt. We have a couple guys that have played now their first college snaps. And so probably in 3 of the last 4, they'll continue to play. MJ Flowers, our tailback, was our leading rusher on Saturday. Is a guy that we have seen great flashes of and has continued to improve. As you said, he's no longer a freshman. He's no longer a first year. He has started to grasp the offense, and he is twitchy and big and physical. And his number was finally called, and he showed exactly what we've seen in practice. And so we know we've got 3 more games and we can still use the red shirt. And so there are a number of guys like that. Justin Bowick is another guy on the wide receiver position. He had his first start outside at wide receiver. He's got to gain some weight and he's got to continue to gain some experience, but he is big and long and will catch anything thrown in his direction. So there's a number of young guys that I'm excited about seeing continue to develop, and they will certainly help us going forward, not only this season, but in the future.
I got one more and then I'll turn over to Kyle. You know, we talked about injuries. What's the status of Isaiah and Dom in particular?
So Dom is day to day. He sustained a laceration on his thumb in his first series on offense against Tennessee State down in Nashville, and so they had to stitch him up. And to make a long story longer, it's just day to day, and we have to wait and see what they say as far as there's no structural damage in there, but is the scab healed enough with the stitches in his hand? It's his non-throwing hand, but they still want to make sure. The biggest thing is to try to avoid infection with it. So he's day to day. Isaiah, very similar. Again, obviously, you know, has had a history of having to overcome injuries and had done that and gotten himself back on the field for our homecoming game against Lindenwood. At the end of the game, certainly didn't feel quite right. Practiced a little bit early in the week and then didn't feel quite right. We saw the doctors again on Monday. It appears that everything is still structurally sound. So it's just going to be managing it and then trying to see where he's at on a day-to-day basis. So TBA for both of those guys.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Dan.
Coach, you referenced Tennessee Tech, and obviously they had a game where it looked like they had won against Kennesaw and ended up losing in overtime. Just talk a little bit more about them. And when you said that the wins don't necessarily reflect how they're playing. When you get close, but you don't quite get there, what's that do to a team?
Yeah, it's challenging. And I feel for Coach Alexander. I know he and his staff have done a phenomenal job. Again, I think the addition of Coach Satterfield, their new offensive coordinator, and what they're doing offensively has certainly given them a new look. They are explosive. They give you a ton of different looks. There's motion. They're going to make sure that you've got every box checked on defense. And they've got a great core group of wide receivers. They're athletic. They're fast. The running backs tough as nails. The offensive line and tight ends well coached. The quarterback really makes them go. Oatsville is a guy that certainly is leading their team in passing, but he's their second leading rusher. Super athletic. So that they present a ton of challenges, and I know that they are very, very, very improved statistically, and you watch them explosive wise, and then they change tempo on you. So it's going to be a challenge for our defensive guys. Coach Gristick and his staff have got their hands full, and certainly we've got to do a better job just trying to get off the field in those situations. So, and then on defense, they're super sound. Guys play hard. Again, they're active in the front. Their linebackers are physical. They're extremely twitchy and athletic in the secondary. Not afraid to play some man-to-man. Or challenge or contest the receiver. So there's not going to be a lot of space in there. We're going to have to do a good job offensively of remaining balanced and trying to get a body on a body and taking better care of the football certainly is going to be real important. But yeah, it can be a challenge when you, again, have not had the sustained success that you would like to have, because there is that doubt sometimes, I think, that creeps into the player's mind. But I know that Coach Alexander and his staff are doing a phenomenal job. They are very much improved. And a heck of a good football team. And we're going to have our hands full. That's for doggone sure here in Charleston and family weekend this Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. That's all I got. Anything else, Dan?
Nope, I'm good. We'll see you on Saturday, Coach.
Thanks a million, guys.
Appreciate your time, Coach.
Yeah, thank you, guys.